For your Caesar. Cardiff City, ride with me for your Caesar. For your Caesar. Cardiff City, get litty for your Caesar. She want a diff boy. Swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. She want a diff boy. Swagger 1 point, yeah, diff boy. For your Caesar. Grab a little something for your Caesar. We the geezers. Swagger stone cold like freezers. She want a diff boy. She want Starvz, not Fitzroy. She want a diff boy. She want Starvz, not Fitzroy. She want a big man. Says she want a man from...
Excuse me, sorry, choking. Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. This is your 30-minute live. The timer is set. Not going to be like last week where I'm going to answer a load of questions, but we're just going to go through some bits and pieces, talk about a game, stuff like that. And look, right, I'm going to get to this just very quickly. I'm going to spend 2 minutes on it, right? People who think that the club are going to like update about the any potential takeover or any sort of discussion, they just can't. Like they just cannot. And obviously, Glenn, and I feel sorry for him. His mentions must be all over the place. And he's written what he's written today. I think nothing which he wrote went against pretty much what I said. I don't think I never said anything about meetings in Monaco and stuff like that, because I only can just say what I said. Like, so I stand by my sources. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, it'll play out how it plays out. As I said yesterday, no deal is done, no price is agreed, and whatever happens will take months. The only thing I'd say is like these people, if the people who've been in the meetings will be very surprised to hear there's been no meetings. But there we go. Look, if you can't laugh, what can you do? It'll play out how it plays out. But I stand by my source, and I've already said like at some point he will come on and he'll give a full timeline and explanation, however it pans out and however it goes. So yeah, it is what it is. It is it's real, it's moving, but it's taking time, as you'd expect, because there's all sorts of complications with it. So it'll be what it'll be. As I've said numerous times, it's never going to be done before the start of the season. It's never going to be done quickly. So it is what it is. And yeah, we'll see how it pans out, is what I will say. As like I said, I ain't backtracking on anything in particular. Just it'll be what it'll be. New member, Liam Stone, welcome. Welcome to all the new members. I think we've had about 8 or 9 new members in the last 24 hours. Loaded new subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed, all that good stuff. We're going to talk about different things. Like we'll talk about the game tomorrow and the QPR. It's fascinating. Like, do you think he's got to go with a fairly strong side tomorrow, surely? Because he needs to start getting the players playing together, like partnerships and relationships building, whether that's at centre-back, midfield, wingers and fullbacks. Like, they need to play together rather than splitting them over 2 halves. So I'll be fascinated to see if tomorrow's the day he does that. So you get a bit of a better idea of what his preferred 11 is, I guess. I hear he really likes Callum Chambers at centre back. So I'm not surprised by that. Callum Chambers is really good on the ball. I think the main thing with Callum Chambers is just his pace at the back, which worries me. But if you've got a Dylan Lawler next to him, or you've got a Pacquiao at right back, or even a Spears, like you've got a lot of pace there. I desperately think we need a left back, a left-footed defender. Joel Bagan can play centre back, and I think he can do it very well. But I also think that, like left back is what it is. I don't know. We need players ultimately, and it's Wednesday, not Tuesday. But it is difficult. It's true. I said tomorrow because the preview is out tomorrow. So in my head it was like tomorrow. But yeah, there's preview out tomorrow on that tomorrow lunchtime. Like I can't imagine that we're going to go into this season. I could take these off because they annoy me and there's no one to talk to, apart from you guys, of course. Obviously, I just can't imagine us going into the season without making any signings. But I'm also fed up of having a message back saying, "Oh yeah, they've got some ready, and it's coming. It's gonna be this week," and it doesn't come. So I'm just going to let it play out at this point. I had again a heard this morning from a decent enough source, like two sources that there's a centre back ready to come in and medicals and all this sort of stuff, but I've almost lost the will to live with transfers in, I think, because it's just difficult. So the thing, right, Lewis says there, any truth in this Salich nonsense. So this is just an opinion, right? We've already turned down at least one bid for him. I don't believe that Stoke have enough money to buy him. Just an opinion. And I might have an egg on my face if they come back and they come to a deal with Cardiff. The one thing I did think was, have they got a couple of players which maybe we would like? And then maybe they come in with like a 5 million plus 2 players type deal. But I can't imagine they've got 8 million to spend, let alone more than that. But I don't know. Like, I've not heard one iota from any person who I speak to, inside or outside the club, in the media, elsewhere. I even got a friend up in Stoke, and he didn't know anything about it. Like, so it seems like internet stuff. I would be shocked. I would be surprised at this point if we sold Salich, just because when I heard about that bid the other week, I was convinced we'd take it, because historically we take the money. And then when you add in like this takeover stuff, like you're like, oh, we're going to take the money for that. But because that's historically what we do. We just take the first bid. So that was super encouraging. And I think from what I gather, Brian Barry Murphy told some of the fans who were out in Spain that he's not for sale. Like, that's really encouraging, because obviously I wasn't there, so I don't know that for definite that he said that. But from what I gathered, a couple of people told me he said it. So, like, that's really encouraging, because you'd like to think he wouldn't say that. Steve Davis Evans, welcome, mate. How are you? I got a reply to your message as well. I haven't forgotten. Did you forget, however, that you designed the Ace Podcast Nation logo? Because when you sent me those images, you didn't mention that. But anyway, by the by. I'm all for back in BBM, but it's clear that we need players in certain positions. How long does he need to wait? And this is where I think Glenn and the other journalists who cover Cardiff City could maybe push the club a little bit more for clarification on what's going on. Because I think it's clear to everybody that Cardiff need at least 2 signings. I would argue more like 3 or 4, but 2 I think is an absolute minimum. And it doesn't seem to be happening. I'm sure, I do think they will come, but like, less than 2 weeks till the start of the season, new manager, new way of playing. Surely you want those players to be able to, get up to speed with how the manager wants to play, get up to speed with their teammates. Even if they're familiar with the manager, they should be, they still need to get used to playing with their teammates and settle into the area and all the rest of it. Jamie says, I think we'll see some proper coaching for the first time in years. So let's see that grow. Loanies and 2 or 3 purchases will come and join the party. So I'm not that bothered compared to what we've had. I think the coaching part of that is absolutely spot on. I think even in the friendlies, you could see a difference in how we've been coached, or how those players have been coached compared to before. Like, I think there was a big difference, but I guess we'll see. Like, obviously preseason is difficult to judge exactly where it is and how it is. So I think we'll just have to be patient, which seems to be the word of the week at the moment. But I just can't fathom that we'd end up with no manager. Rhys says, I've heard heard Leeds are after Lawler. I hope it's not true. It wouldn't shock me, mate. I've heard all sorts of clubs after him from abroad, Premier League, Championship. He's a quality player, even at his young age, and he's got less than a year left on his contract. Hasn't signed a new one. And Leeds also like the young Welsh players. They got Ampadu, Charlie Crew, obviously got Darlow and Roden. I think they got a few Welsh lads there. So would it shock you really if they picked him up? I mean, I hope they don't. I really do. But I've said it many times. You know, I did a video on it the other day. I'm super concerned about the Dylan Lawler situation. Like, I hope his agent's just playing a blinder, and as he should do, to look after his player and his client, and he ends up signing a new deal later in the season. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about it, because Leeds, a Premier League club, whoever, a club from abroad, why wouldn't you just test the waters with a bid now to see if Cardiff would take it, knowing that he's not signed a new deal? And obviously in January, he can talk to teams abroad. So it's massive. John in Mordecai says, Sarich is a big part of the squad. Value, sell him, it lowers the value of the club right now, in my thought. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's clear. Like, I think he's the most valuable player, isn't he, ultimately? And I think, I just think he's irreplaceable in terms of this season. If we sold him, I don't think there's a striker out there who's got the all-round skill set that we could buy and replace him with. So it's tricky. Interesting as well. I'll get to that now. Sav says, I'd imagine BBM's been fine-tuning what he can do with this squad, the squad he currently has, and is probably happy plodding along with it whilst incomings are being worked on, just not as a priority yet. Yeah, I think he's been quite happy to sort of work with what he's got. But I also think, you know, he said, what did he say? He said quality over quantity. I do think, like, we need even if you say he's happy with the four centre backs that we got in Fish, Darling, Lawler, Chambers, say he's happy with them, we still need a fullback because we've only got one left. Well, one left back, one youngster, two youngsters at right back, really. So I think we need a fullback. Definitely, probably need a winger. Like, it needs strengthening, and I guess, look, it might be difficult because they're probably considering they don't want to block the pathway of certain players. They need to decide which of the young players are going to go on loan, which of them are going to stay and compete in the first team. So there's lots going into it, I guess. But it is frustrating because it's getting closer and closer to a season, and it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. But Jonathan Tompkins, who I did a video on earlier, was an interesting one. So I know some people quite fancy him, some people don't. I was watching clips. What was really apparent to me is he's really good on the ball. His passing is very, very good. He's a big lad. But when you look at his stats, he's not very good in the air, like, statistically speaking, which is unusual for a 6'3" centre-back. But he is good on the ball. So he's a good age. He's 23. So you could see why Brian Barry Murphy and Lee Riley might like him. Now, whether we end up signing him or not is another thing. I have no idea. But, you know, I think he'd be a decent signing. My thing with Grant Hanley, for instance, right, who was another player who was rumoured to be linked with us, is from a leadership point of view, I think he's the perfect type of player to come in to that dressing room, a young dressing room. He's an international player. He's a good leader. I think that's exactly what we need. However, as a player, good on the ball, okay, decent enough on the ball, but very immobile, very slow, and very injury prone in the last couple of years. And then I would question, does he play in front of Chambers? Probably not. Does he play in front of Lawler? I kind of hope not. Does he play in front of Fish? Probably not. Does he play in front of Darland? Maybe on current sort of form. So that would be a bit of a weird one unless one of them is going to go. But it's interesting for sure. I quite like Jonathan Tompkinson from the research I did. Ewan says, if we kept our squad as it is now and only added another two, I feel that's a successful window. I think any window where Yusuf Salic, Dylan Lawler, Ruben Colwell are still at the football club, and a few others, Alex Robertson, are still at the football club when the window closes, I think that's a pretty good window, if I'm honest. Richard says, whoever wants Salic will have to buy him for what would be a record sale for us, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we discussed it a couple of weeks back. I wouldn't even pick up a phone for less than 12. Because he's so difficult to you're going to replace a striker with 2 weeks to go before the season, you got to find someone who's got the all-round skill set of him, and all the selling clubs know that you've got a briefcase full of cash from selling him. It's almost impossible. So it's kind of one of them, isn't it? Martin says sheer numbers dictates that we can't bring many in before we move some out. Yeah, we definitely need to move some out. I think that's very clear. I think that might have been what Steve Borley was trying to get at, but I think he just got himself a bit, what's the word? Like a bit muddled up or whatever. But like, yeah, we definitely need to bring some stuff in. CCFC Insider said, I'd be surprised if Lawler went to Leeds. If he does, I'd be surprised if it wasn't to play week in, week out, rather than stay in the academy setup. Yeah, I don't think he will go to Leeds, but I couldn't guarantee it because it would make a lot of sense. He's a young Welsh lad. They got a nice Welsh contingent there to help him settle. It's a big club. I don't know. There's been all sorts of clubs rumored to be interested in him because he's a quality young player. Go on. Stoke might throw in a swap deal for Nathan Lowe. Again, like, I quite like Nathan Lowe, but you're getting the raw end of that, unless you get a boatload of cash, and I just don't think they've got a boatload of cash. So GD Parry says there, priority is a confident goalkeeper. It creates a confident backline. Yeah, as you know, I'm not a fan of either keeper, really. I'm at the point with it this year where I think, they'll both be all right for League One, but I really don't think either one of them is a number one. I think Alnwick, the defense seemed calmer when Alnwick is in goal. I would say that much. But I don't think there's a lot in it between the two of them. I know some people disagree with that. I think Howbert's a slightly better shot stopper. I think Alnwick's slightly better with his feet. Don't think there's loads in it. I don't think either one of them is a number one. That's the question. Someone asked me that earlier, and since there was all those rumors of him going on a flight back to his Japanese, the club he'd come from, I have not heard a Dicky Bird. I haven't heard his name mentioned. So one of the stranger signings, almost not quite up there with Rocco Simic for odd signings, but strange signings. Lewis says, what would you think of this? 5-3-2. So I'm going to stop there. I'm already going to like it, even without seeing the personnel, because I love a 3 at the back. But let's go. Alnwick in goal, fine. Lawler, Fish, NG, like it. Kapaki on the right. Tanner on the left. Turnbull, Robertson, Ruben, and then Salic and Robinson up front. So I do quite like it. The only thing I would probably switch is I'd swap Isaac Davis in for Callum Robinson, maybe. I think Isaac gives you more in the press, which I think is going to be important to the way Brian Barry Murphy wants to play. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense then, doesn't it? Give you know what I mean. 2 p.m. Wednesday, innit? It's on them. I think this one's being streamed, though, isn't it? On the Cardiff City, streaming it, I believe. Like, who would your centre-back pairing be? If it's a 2 now, who would your centre-back pairing be as of today? And if it was a 3, who would it be? So I think mine would be... See, it's very difficult. Because if I was going to go with a 3, I'm getting Joel Bagan in there on the left-hand side because having a left-footed centre-back just opens up that side of the pitch and changes the angles completely. So I'd probably go Bagan. I don't want to drop Fish, but I think you probably need Chambers' experience in a 3 or NG's experience, one of the two. And I'm playing Dylan Lawler, so it's a very tricky one. And obviously with a 2, it gets even more tricky. I think with a 2, I'd probably go with Lawler and Fish simply because I do worry about Callum Chambers' pace at centre-back. But just seeing there, Josh says he thinks he might go Lawler at right-back, Chambers right centre-back, Fish left centre-back. and 3 in the back, 3 at the back in possession. I wouldn't be shocked with the 3 at the back in possession. I don't think that we should be playing Dylan Lawler at right back. I don't think that's a way to try and get him to sign a new contract, playing someone out of position. But I think he's more than capable of doing it. Just think he's better at. Yeah, you can email that or email cardiffcityworld@gmail.com and you get added to the WhatsApp group. I just can't see Stoke having the money. Like Richard says there, no way Stoke will pay the money for a record sale for us. It just doesn't. I just can't see it. I haven't heard anything about it. No one knew about it when I asked around today. But I just can't see them having the cash for it, like at all. It's a strange one, Shout out to Matt as well again for producer Matt in the background who's dealing with all the comments and stuff. Yeah, so like Ross has just said there, Glenn has said he hasn't heard anything on Salic. I haven't heard anything. And I spoke to a Stoke fan who hadn't heard anything, and no one seems to have heard. It just seems to be an internet rumor. And look, it's fun. It's all fun and games. Like, what do you think? So Rhys says, I'm not surprised by that. Rhys, you're not a fan of Halbert, are you? What do you guys think? So let's say Brian Barry Murphy tomorrow or Wednesday, is thinking, right, I need to start first half. I need to play my strongest 11 as it is now. 4-3-3. What would you go with? Or like, what's your midfield? Like, I think it's really tricky. I think I'm going with Eli King, although I'm a bit like almost like, do you go with the experience of Wintle for the first couple of games? But like if Eli King is doing it and he's got that aggression and that youth, that pace and everything that young players give you, I'm almost wanting to go with that because I want to start the season fast. Bob Bank 27 says Lola and Fish. I do like that pairing. And Martin says Lola and Fish. I think the manager likes Chambers, so I think Chambers will be the experienced head in what's going to be a very young defence. Like you think, as we stand, the only options we have at right back are Kipakiao, 18, 19, something like that. Will Spears, 17, 18. Joel Colwell, same sort of young age. Dylan Lawler, 18, 19. Like the only experienced option is Callum Chambers, and as everything I've heard is that he does not want to play right back, like at all. Now I'm sure he would do it for a short period or whatever, but it's a tricky one. And this is what I'm saying. Like if we have an injury to Joel Bagan, we are truly screwed. Arthur Bushby says Huddersfield have just bought Alfie May from Birmingham for 1 million. Huddersfield have done some really, really good business this window. And I think that's what is causing fans to be more sort of concerned as we go closer to the season. It's not just the fact that Cardiff haven't brought anyone in. It's also the fact that other teams around us have. If no one had brought like many people in, I think you're less concerned with it, I guess. And Alfie May, by the way, is a good player as well. Good bit of business for Birmingham as well. Bob Bag 27. It was a 3. Lawler, Fish, Darland. I'm not keen on Darland at the moment. Steve says Chambers and Fish, or Chambers, Fish and Bagan. Yeah, I do really like Bagan a lot, and I think in a 3, I think he'd definitely be in there on the left-hand side. I'm trying to find a space for Dylan Lawler where possible most of the time. Carl says, interested to see how Joel progress and BBM's watch. Joel Bagan or Joel Colwell? Clarify, and I will give an opinion. Well, I'll give an opinion on both, I suppose. I think Joel Bagan, I think had a consistent season last year, did all right. But not incredible. And then Joel Colwell, I think he's had a really good loan spell, did well. He's got to kick on now, and they've got to decide if he goes back on loan or if he's going to be in the first team. And I think he's got all the skill set to challenge, especially if we end up losing a midfielder. Jonathan says, everyone says Luton have a lot of money, but so far their business looks like they're on a strict budget. They're not splashing anything yet. Yeah, I think they brought 1 or 2 in, haven't they? But it's also like, if you're happy, if the manager's happy with the squad you've got, like I am a kind of believer in, like, trust what you've got if you're happy with it. And then if you can bring in a player who's genuinely going to improve your starting 11, if that's what you're looking for, or if you're looking for a squad player to raise the floor of your squad, then that's like, get it. But if you're happy with what you've got, like genuinely, like if Brian Barry Murphy feels happy with what he's got and he thinks that he's got every position on every occurrence covered, then that's why he's paid the big bucks to be the manager of Cardiff City. Like, I would disagree. I would say, like, if we get an injury to Joel Bagan, we're right up the creek without a paddle. But, you know, hopefully we don't. Joel was pretty consistent last year, and I would like to see him kick on this year now. But Martin says he hates a 3, leaves us wide open out wide. But if it's done right, you should be able to deal with that with the right players. So if you've got, for instance, Dylan Lawler on the right of a 3, he's mobile enough to get out and cover the space while the wing backs get back. With the whole point is you press high with the wing backs, and then it's when they beat the press, the wing backs drop back in to make a 5, and you make yourself very compact and difficult to play through defensively. So it'll be interesting, to say the least. I'd love Kipri back. I would love Kipri back. What a player, what a leader as well. I think he's going to say, just about to say he's got the Ipswich, haven't he? But what a player he was. I was a big fan of him. Proper leader as well. Proper leader. Right, we got say 4.5 minutes. So I'll answer a couple of questions to finish off the 30-minute timer. Martin says, must start with Hovarth. Halnwick hasn't been fit. Yeah, I mean, Halnwick, I don't think is he even fit now? I don't think he's ready to play, is he? So I think he's going to be Howarth. I got to say, I thought Howarth has looked pretty decent in pre-season. He looks a lot calmer than he did all last season. Chambers is obviously banned for the first game. Of course he is, Stu. Yeah, so with that in mind, I definitely would go. My back four would probably be. So I'm naughty, and people will accuse me of putting pressure on young players, but I'd go with Spears against Peterborough as it stands with injuries and suspensions. I'd go Spears, Lawler, Fish, and Bagan, and then I would go Eli King, Alex Robertson, Ruben Colwell. Wingers are very open. Salic up front, obviously. I'd go with Isaac on one side, and then that final winger spot to me is wide open. Wide open. Steve says his lineup would be 4-2-3-1. Alnwick, Kapakio, Fish, Chambers. Chambers is banned though, so you'd have to switch that out. Bagan, Wintle, Robertson, Ruben, Tanner, Robinson, Salic. So you play Robinson off the left. Interesting. He's got a pretty good record off the left, actually, for like statistically speaking. I just don't think he presses enough. Bob Banks says he thinks Mafiko did well at left back. I thought he did all right. There was the second game, I think it was. I thought he struggled a little bit. Not like he was terrible, just a little bit. I've seen him play better, but he did. I agree. He did a decent job. Another one who did a real good job was Nyakahawa. I thought he did an excellent job. And if he could have just put in a couple of really good crosses, even if it wasn't everyone, just a couple of really good crosses off that right wing, I think he'd have been bang in contention to start the first game of the season, or certainly been given more opportunities in these next couple of games. because I thought he did everything good except his final ball. Matthew says, Callum Robinson on the left, surely Ashford or Davis. So yeah, Ashford is the other one I would play. I'd play Ashford and Davis on the wing. It's all opinions, isn't it? Ultimately, I understand why people would want to get Callum Robinson in there, but for me, he's better as a 9. I'm not a massive fan of him as a 10. So he's either got to play off the left or he's got to play as a 9, as a backup to Yusuf Salic. Josh says, at the moment, Howarth, Lawler right back, Chambers, Fish, Bagan, Eli King, Turnbull, Ruben, Ashford, Naikahawa, and Salic. I don't hate that. Sav says, if you think about last season, it's my opinion that we were solid centre back away from mid-table. Yeah, I believe that. Issue is we had Chambers, Goudas, and Darlin rotating them, and each of them were having howlers. Yeah, and that's something actually which Omar Rhys discussed during the podcast I did with him, is that like people calling him the Tinker Man, but people were making howling mistakes and he would take them out and change it, and then that person would make a mistake. It's difficult, but like they all had just howlers, didn't they? Like Perry NG had a few at the start of the season where he was to blame for goals. I think Chambers had a couple at centre back. Darland just doesn't seem to be able to cope with the physicality. And Will Fish is, I think, as an out-and-out defender, I thought he was very good, but positionally, he does switch off, particularly at set pieces. And Goutas wasn't great either. So this is something I floated the other day. I think I was on I don't know if it was on a member show, but obviously he's been in that Manchester City setup with Pep. Pep has gone with this thing of using 4 mobile centre halves as a back 4, and then they completely change shape in possession, with 2 of them sometimes going into holding midfielders, 2 of them staying back. The holding midfielders then aren't really holding midfielders. They push up, and it's all a bit fluid. I don't think it's that outrageous to suggest that he might go with something like that, because I toyed with the idea of Fish at right back, Chambers and Darlin, say, or Chambers and Lawler at centre back, and then like a left back of Bagan, and you've got kind of like 4 potential centre backs playing, tight in the midfield. And are they good enough on the ball to do that system? I'm not sure. Jonathan says, apparently Kings Lynn battered Peterborough in a friendly, kicked them all over the place, and the Peterborough fans are not happy. Could be a few injuries caused there. It's still a couple of weeks, isn't there? Still a couple of weeks. Yeah, Steve says 4 centre-backs reminds me of Mick McCarthy playing 5 centre-backs, which still haunts my dreams. I think it would be a different way of doing it, wouldn't it? Like, and Jonathan says the same thing. Like, if he did that, I don't think he will, but if he did that, I don't think he's doing it Mick McCarthy style. I think he's doing it to be very, very aggressive. Like, you might even see like a 2 in the midfield starting of like Ruben and Robertson as a 2 with, say, Robinson and as in the 10. And then your sort of Chambers is your right back, say, but then in possession, Chambers and Bagan become the holding midfielders. Ruben and Robertson go up, the wingers go up, but it's all a bit fluid. Like, I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll be a bit more traditional with his back 4, but I don't know. Who knows? He's a very, very talented coach. So Holton says, would Robertson and Colwell work in a double pivot? 1-5-2-3. I don't know. I do like Ruben deeper. I think Alex Robertson is better as in like a number 8, where he can see what's in front of him rather than in a 10 in the little pockets of space. The way we've lined up in pre-season, he seems to be going with Ruben in the 10. And I think Ruben's been really aggressive, really high pressing, and really good on the ball. And his link-up play has been very good with Yusuf Salic and the wingers, which you'd expect. So I don't see it. I think you'd have to pick the right game for it. And it would be brave. I do think Alex Robertson is capable of playing as a 6, mind. I think Ruben's capable of playing as a 6. I know the Welsh camp really think long-term that Ruben Colwell will be a 6 or an 8. Like, for me, I think he's a 10. Just think you've got to get the right players around him, but he's also got to... Ruben Colwell's got to dig in and show it this year. He's got to stand up to be counted. I think Brian Barry Murphy is very clearly giving him belief. So Josh says, "Si, who's further along for you, Pacquiao or Spears? Because I thought Will looked better from what I've seen. Looks more filled out than Ronan." I think it's harsh on Ronan because Ronan Pacquiao had come back from a serious injury. He's clearly very highly rated, not just in the Cardiff setup, but a Wales setup. I think you've got to give him an opportunity. I think it will be really harsh for him to not start the season with NG out. I think it'll be really harsh. But you can't ignore the fact that Spears was super impressive. And he was impressive in all aspects. Ball carrying, progressive passes, normal passes, long passes, positional play, defensive duels, aerial duels. Like, it was all good by Will Spears. I know it was only like half a game, but you can only do what you can do. You can only play as long as you can play, and you can only play against the opposition you play against. But he did catch the eye, and he's a very talented footballer. 2 out of 3 of those I agree with. I'm not sold on Ollie Tanner yet. I hope that he proves me wrong. Jamie says, not to be depressing, but we heard all about All Out Attack before, and they went in their shells. Can BBM iron this rate out? Yeah, I do. Like, Brian Barry Murphy's just a different level of coach to what we've had at the football club. Dare I say ever? I'm trying to think. Certainly in recent times. And I would be shocked about a couple of things, right? So if you look back under Errol Bullitt, you look back under Omar Risa, there's a few things that I'll be really shocked if we're still doing come 5 games into the season. If our build-up play is as static as it has been in terms of when people have the ball, the lack of options and the lack of movement off the ball, I will be absolutely flabbergasted if we're still that static after 5 games in the league. Also, the speed of passing, the amount of touches that individual players take, the amount of time they take to move the ball on when they're just moving the ball to shift. Because the whole point of is when, when centre-backs and full-backs and they're just passing along the back line, the other team has dropped in to be compact, they're not pressing, and they're just passing it along. The whole point of that is to move the other team across and out of their shape to try and then progress the ball through the lines and capitalize on it and open the pitch up. But if you do it so slowly, it's so easy to play against. So it is it's a tricky one. Right, last couple. Jonathan says, I think Wintle will surprise a few this season, because if we don't sign a 6, I think Wintle starts. So I'm kind of torn on Wintle, because people who I trust, like I trust their opinion on football, tell me that he has the skill set to be a really good 6 at League One level. He can be a really good progressive passer. He's got a nice diagonal in him, and he can be the guy that we need. But I just haven't seen it in a Cardiff City shirt. I just think he's tidy and he does the basics very well. I don't know if he offers enough, and I worry, or I think that Eli King gives us an edge with his extra pace and aggression. However, maybe to get the best out of Alex Robertson and to get the best out of Ruben Colwell and others, maybe we need someone in the 6 who's just going to quietly go about their business and do the simple things really well, break up play, etc. So Carl says, if we don't sign an experienced captain, Windle's a shoe-in. I disagree with that 100%. He might end up being a captain. I think it'll be Callum Chambers, personally, if he doesn't go for a younger player. Sav says, I really do think Ruben will give him the captaincy now, just second-guessing BBM and how Ruben will be ideal candidate to symbolise the academy players coming through. I kind of agree with it. I think I said it the other day. I think that the way that Brian Barry Murphy has talked about him, to him, he seems like he's placing him to be the face of the new era. And I think that maybe giving him a bit of responsibility and telling him, like, you're the guy, go act like it and go win us some football matches. Maybe that's what he needs. I don't know. It could backfire massively if he did do it. It could also be a masterstroke. It's one of them, isn't it? I don't disagree that Ryan Wintle could be the captain. No, I don't think he's like that outside the box, like, you know. Right, last two, and then I'm off ski because Matt's got to go and do the members show. Richard said, I don't feel calm when either are in goals. Yeah, me neither, mate. I think we need a keeper. I'd be surprised if he doesn't bring in a keeper, if I'm honest, unless they're waiting to see what Howarth is doing because he's got a release course. Can we have a poll? Buy a captain or choose within? Well, I'm about to finish up, mate, so it'll disappear. We'll do that. I'll do it on the next live show, which will probably be Wednesday, I think. I'm not sure. I might do a late night live on Wednesday. But right, tomorrow lunchtime, got a preview of the QPR game. Tomorrow night, we'll have another video out, I think. I don't think it's a live show tomorrow. I'll double check that. And also tonight at 9 o'clock, in about 18 minutes, the 1927 Club is doing a members only show. So please do get involved. If you're not a member already, then please do become a member. And as Martin rightly pointed out earlier, Luton have in the second year of their parachute payment. And there you go. Captaincy World says, please put your answer to the captains. Would you buy a captain, like say an Owen O'Connell from Wrexham, or would you choose someone from within the squad? Let us know in the comments after the video's finished, because the live chat disappears, and it'll be real interesting. And who would you pick? Right, guys, just a short one tonight. I'll be back later in the week. We've got lots of videos coming, and also, if you remember, get in to the club. Not sure yet, mate. It'll either be 1927 because it's like it's like a 2 o'clock kickoff or that. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Probably though. We shall see. Maybe I'll ban him because Matt's going on holiday and leaving me in a little lurch. What am I going to do with no moderator? I have to get my wife to do it. Right, guys. Make sure you leave it in the comments. Who would your captain be? Would you buy someone in? Would you pick someone from the current squad? I will see you tomorrow. If you're a member or a Patreon, jump on the member show. The link's gone out to Patreons. It's on the member section on Cardiff City World. If you're not a member, jump on because they'll be talking about all sorts of stuff. I bid you farewell. Thank you so much, as always, for the support, for the comments, for everything. Keep the faith, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar. Cardiff City, ride with me for your Caesar.